What are limiting beliefs? I can't help it. I can't do that. I have no other choice. I can't change this. These are things I hear people say, and they're all limiting beliefs. You can help it. You can stop doing a particular behaviour. You can change the way you think, and there are always choices, even if you can only come up with alternatives you don't like at the moment. You just need someone to make you aware of what your limiting beliefs are. You see, our minds can be terribly stubborn, but we are not our minds. We have a mind. Sure, it takes a little time to make these changes, but if you're prepared to put in the effort, it is very possible indeed. And yes, it does feel a little scary when you make a change because your mind feels comfortable, safe, and secure with your everyday habits. But if you continue doing the same thing that has no benefit for you, you're not going to get far at all. You'll just keep telling me that nothing is changing for you. On the other hand, when you add a new change and do this every day, even for just a week, it'll begin to feel like a new habit and part of your normal routine. We have a choice to fill our minds with positivity or negativity, to spend our time with uplifting or discouraging people, to learn how to become a master of our minds or continue playing the victim in life. As an example, I stopped watching the news a long time ago when I became aware it was making me feel frustrated, angry, and unsafe in the world. I don't need to know what's happening in the world on a daily basis, especially when what's been presented is really only ever doom and gloom. My partner knows how I feel about this too and is always considering my needs. He watches news in a separate room from the kitchen and living space in our home, and I really appreciate this. About 12 months ago, I met with a cognitive psychologist, thinking I had post-traumatic stress disorder, but she thought I might have had what's called adjustment disorder. Whether or not I have either of these, I've come to understand that I'm a highly sensitive person, a HSP, a category where 20% of the population fall, and perhaps you do as well. Some common experiences of a highly sensitive person include sensitivity to light and sound, sensitivity to caffeine and medications, feeling overwhelmed in crowded places, feeling more drained than others after spending time with people, affected by the energy and moods of the people around them, easily startled, difficulty with transitions and change, and avoidance of violence in TV and movies. Melody Wilding, a licensed master social worker and professor of human behaviour at Hunter College, New York City, writes that, biologically speaking, highly sensitive people pick up on more stimuli within and around them. Studies have shown that the HSP brain is more active in areas related to attention, emotion, action planning, decision-making, and having strong internal experiences. She goes on to explain how managers consistently rate people with higher sensitivity as their top contributors. As professionals, HSPs are innovative, deeply committed to fairness, and have a knack for leading teams of people in a way others simply can't. At the same time, hyper-attunement can be draining. Situations that might be moderately stressful to the average person can cause a sensitive person to spiral into overthinking. I used to catch up frequently with a mate who spoke of government conspiracy theories and was constantly trying to outsmart the men in her workplace since they were so condescending towards females. She was loads of fun to hang out with, but also quite angry, trying to control things and people in her life. And so was I at the time, which is why our energies were attracted to one another and we were such great mates. Eventually, we had a falling out, Maybe we both realised we weren't any good for one another anymore. The interesting thing was, after spending the day with her, I'd return home unaware of how agitated I was and regularly treat my partner with contempt. Not only had I marinated in my own shitty thoughts all day, I'd soaked up all of hers as well and wasn't even aware of this. As a highly sensitive person, caring about your thoughts and vibration is even more important, especially during this time of intense energies which are raising the consciousness of people and the planet. Our mind works much like our body. When we care about the nutrients we put into our bodies, we feel so much better. It's equally important to become conscious of what we're allowing our minds to soak up and whether it's good for us or not. A friend's been staying with me for the past 2 weeks, and we watched a murder series over the weekend, plus bits of other crime movies too. Last night, I had 2 nightmares during my sleep, and they were just bloody awful. I've been slack with my mind of late, and it's impacting me, so it's time to get back on track again, since my thoughts are currently not all my own. Remember, our thoughts create our emotions and feelings. Our emotions and feelings create our energy and vibration. And our energy and vibration create what we manifest in our lives. So, if your thoughts aren't even your own, whose life are you actually manifesting? Did you know that repeated, consistent thoughts can become our firmly held beliefs? And that our actions can reinforce these existing beliefs, creating a pattern of behaviour that's either empowering or limiting? And just because it's a belief we hold doesn't automatically make it true. Furthermore, these beliefs are mostly held deep down in our unconscious mind, and we're not even aware that they're limiting until someone with a completely different perspective challenges our thinking. My friend, who's been visiting, thinks she's terrible at using technology. She's not, thinks it, and gets agitated and uptight, expecting something to go wrong each time. She says things like, "Why does this always happen to me? See, I can't do it." When leaving my place to return home, she had trouble with her phone, not connecting properly in her car, and couldn't hear the navigator. I drove down the road to help her, only to find she'd already reset it and sorted it herself. I know she felt bad for stuffing me around. She didn't. I was just happy to know she was good to travel the 5 hours back home successfully. Yes, she could have focused negatively on being held up for half an hour, but imagine what else might have happened to her on her drive home with that limiting thought. And perhaps the universe and her angels were holding her up for a reason, like keeping her out of harm's way further up the road. Now, isn't that a more positive and empowering thought? What are you thinking? This is the life you're manifesting, you know.